What's up, guys? This is Carter Thomas with Coin Mastery TV. Make sure you go and subscribe for the podcast on iTunes. Go to www.coinmastery.com/iTunes. This will get you the audio into your podcast every day. Hit that subscribe button and you can listen to it on your commute. If you want to get the PDF for the newsletter, go to coinmastery.com/invest and we'll send that right over to you. Thank you. Happy Monday. Hope you all are doing great. I took the weekend off. I actually took my own advice and decided to take it easy, or at least tone it down. I was going pretty full out, but yeah. So I'm back. I feel much better. A little eclipse today, but we had a lot of really good news, really interesting stuff happening. What I want to talk about today are a few things. So first, I want to look at where we are just in the overall Bitcoin picture, right? The BTC picture. I want to talk about a few things that's happened with things like Ethereum, things like Monero. Talk about a little bit about specifically about how I made that Twitter thing, which we'll talk about. I want to talk a little bit about buying the dips and kind of knowing when to buy the dips and when to sell and all that. I want to talk about getting insider information. Now you gotta be, this is all legit. Maybe it's like better due diligence, I guess is a better way to put it. And then finally, I want to talk a little bit about what to do when you make a lot of money, which many of you have experienced or you probably will experience at some point. And I just want to touch on that. It's an important piece of all this that I want to make sure that we keep that in mind as we go. Now today I'm opening up what you can check this out at bfxdata.com. This is Bitfinex backend. Bitfinex does a lot of Bittrex, or the Bitcoin volume, BTC volume. And I think Bittrex actually does more now, but I really like these guys' charting tools, or not even charting tools, just this overview tool. It's much smoother and it's easier to see the specific lines. Now, I am on, you can see that this is 30-minute block, or candles, I should say. And you can change that if you ever want to. Some people do 4 hours is kind of a good long-term timeline. I'm just looking at 30 minutes because I really just want to look at the last, let's say this was the 12th. Today is August 21st at around noon Pacific time, post-eclipse, which is great. And I'm really interested in this last 10-day stretch because we've seen a lot of ups and downs, a lot of kind of confusion and uncertainty, what's going to happen next. And even with myself, right? I keep thinking it's going to go way up or go down, go way up, down, go way up. The short answer is nobody knows, but at least you can prepare for it. Now today I posted something on Twitter. You guys should go check me out. Go check it out on Twitter. Go to twitter.com/Carter Thomas. Follow me. This is where you're going to get a lot of real-time picks, price calls, analysis, whatever. I'm not too crazy. I'm not going to tell you, hey, I'm buying this. Once in a while, I probably will, but it's a good place for conversation. But this morning, I wrote critical support level right now in BTC, and what this means for anybody who's just getting started. There are two things. Oh, we lost me. Where am I? There we are. Let's make sure that doesn't happen again. Float on top. There are two things that happen there's a ceiling and a floor in trading, right? And you zoom out and you can see this a little bit better. Now, if you see how I'm hovering over, this is what's called a peak. This is what's called a valley. I mean, you can call it whatever you want. But at the top here is this price, right? So let's say this is 44.70. This is called resistance. This is the resistant price. So you can see that it couldn't break through that resistant price. Down here is where it's called support, right? So because it was going way down and it hit this price of, let's say, 38.50 or so. I mean, there's a little bit of a candle going through there, right? So 38.44 or whatever you want to call it. But that's called support. And so support means it's a certain price where the market, if it gets that low, the market tends to bring it back up. And on average, you're going to see support and resistance happening over and over and over again, right? Even like on the micro level and on the macro level. Typically what happens is that support, and in a growing market, support becomes the new resistance, right? So, and vice versa, resistance comes the new support. What I mean by that is that when you look at charts, and I'm not sure this Bitcoin chart is the exact right one. Let me go to like a 4-hour chart. And you start to really look at macro trends and you start to look at chart trends. If you look at any sort of support, right? So this was this line, this price, let's say this was 29.37 on June 12th. That was the resistant price. It couldn't get above that price. And then it had a long cascade downwards. You can see over here, all the way to August 5th, once it broke through that resistant price, you can see how it shot straight up because it finally broke through that price, right? So the resistance became the support level, right? So Bitcoin's a little bit different because it's a little bit of a crazy, emerging market or whatever. The same thing here. So when we talk about the critical support levels of Bitcoin, you want to look at what is the price that it keeps bumping up from, right? And yeah, it's about 38.50, but you're seeing a lot of prices right around the 3,900 mark. And that's kind of, we've hit that 3 or 4 times now. And so if it stays above 38.50, I think we're fine. If it goes below 38.50 for an extended period of time, you're going to see this whole thing starts to become a down trend instead of continuing the uptrend. So that's what that means. So if you're ever looking at charts, that's a really quick way to get an idea of where the resistance and where the support is, or support and where the resistance is going to be. That's also really how you buy the dips, right? Like as things dip, all you got to do is look back and say, well, what was the last support level? And let's look at resistance, right? So a good one to look at is something like Bitcoin Cash, which some of you guys will be following, but like, look at this, right? So right now it's coming back up. You could see exactly what that point is. So let's say, call it 140. If you go back here, you can see that this was like the support line or the resistance point over on these peaks. So whenever you see someone doing technical analysis, the reason why you always see them saying, well, this is a potential buy zone, but then this other resistance level is the like monster buy zone or whatever, because the further down you get, the more likely it is to pop back up depending on the style of market. So you can always, that's really how you pick your dips, right? So as it's going down, the first dip, you would say, well, this is the first level of support that it's going to have. And if it breaks through there like it did, then you go down to the next level of support where maybe you go to this peak, which it did right here. It came back up, but then it broke back down because it's still a bear. And so then you go to the next level of support and now it's breaking back up. And if it keeps this trend, if it has this bull market trend to it, it'll keep going up, or it may break back down and then you go down to this level of support and it will keep going. For the most part, it'll keep going down until it hits that. That's how you pick the dips, right? And if you think it's a small dip, you go to the top level. If you think it's a big dip, you go further down or you wait. Or if you want, you can try to buy it all the way down. But then at that point, you're just really eating your margin. So it's better to do more technical analysis. That's a very rudimentary way to look at it. But that's what I'm seeing. And so for you guys, as you're looking at Bitcoin and you're wondering, hey, should I sell? Should I not sell? What should I do? There's really nothing. There's no cause for anything until this area, like I would say 38.50, 38.75. That's really when you're gonna see, a lot of bearish activity coming in. But until then, it could easily pop back up. Like this whole zone is just, that's what's going on right now. It's just the whole market can't make its mind up. Okay, cool. I wanted to talk quickly about Monero, right? Which is kind of I'm obviously biased on this because I've publicly told you guys I own a lot of Monero. since day one, I've been telling you that this is something that's in my hold part of my portfolio. Actually own a good amount of it, and for a lot of reasons. But if you go back into the videos, you can see when during that first July 19th, I bought a ton of this stuff at 29 bucks, and now it's at 76 US dollars, and you can do the math on that from a Bitcoin conversion standpoint. So this has been a great long term, and I think that this is going to continue to go up. So I'm really stoked on that. And one thing you guys may have seen if you follow me on Twitter is the other day on August 19th, so that was 2 days ago, said, hey, keep an eye on Monero during this whole Bitcoin debacle. And I can't get into too much detail other than I've been doing an enormous amount of research on Monero and on exchanges and on Bitcoin Cash and how this whole thing is breaking down, and also with the decision makers, what they are seeing as a way to mitigate their exposure to this whole debacle. And Monero kept coming up in conversations I had and in research I was doing, and in deep in Twitter, like comments on people with 10 followers hitting up support staff. There's just a lot of data that goes into those tweets that you guys don't need to do. And so that's really where it came from. Not self-interested at all. It was more that I saw that there was no solution. There was no third solution coming out of the Bitcoin Cash thing. Monero fit a lot of that criteria, as did Ethereum, which is why last week I said, hey, I think Ethereum's going to go up. I did not say this is going to be the prediction, so I can't take full credit for it, but it was one of the few that I thought was looking really good, especially at the price it was at, and now it's up to 331 US dollars, whatever you want to call it. So it was really cool to see this, but thinking about the bigger picture, right? Everybody's looking at one thing, right? They're looking at Bitcoin, they're looking at Bitcoin Cash, or they're looking at altcoins, and they're not thinking about the other pieces, which are the businesses, right? The exchanges, the Coinbases of the world, the institutional people. They need places to put huge amounts of money to solve problems in unique ways. Certain altcoins just won't do that, right? I don't care how good any of these are. I mean, you can go down the line on right? Let's say Pivx, right? That's a good example. Pivx, privacy, it's fast, it's solid. I don't know, but you can't take Pivx and drop $1 billion on it. It just can't handle that. It is not big enough market. It's not a big enough product. Monero, you can. And that is becoming a new opportunity, right? Because Bitcoin, Ethereum, maybe Neo, but Neo's kind of going up and down. It's kind of this ambiguous, it's in China. Everyone's kind of what is this? There are starting to be these gaps in the top that need to be filled. And these altcoins that are relatively new, relatively small, just cannot fill, excuse me, those gaps. That's why I'm starting to see some of these top ones. That's why I'm also starting to see things like Ripple starting to do well. I think today Ripple's up a good amount, right? You're just starting to see these new bigger coins fill in gaps that traditionally Bitcoin assumed everything. And so I got to dive into this one. There's pretty recent developments of it all, but it's pretty cool. One thing to keep in mind, if you guys want, I think I've said this on the video, if not in the newsletter. Aeon, AEON. This is one of those lotto picks. I'll dive into this if you ever want to. You can go check it out. I own a lot of Aeon. I bought it back in June. I'm holding it. I'm planning on holding it for the next 5 years. I really believe in it for a lot of different reasons. It's basically the Litecoin of Monero, right? Litecoin is to Bitcoin as Aeon is to Monero. So Aeon is built, it's a hard fork of Monero, and they use it to test new developments. And you can see that as Monero grows, this is going to be a massive multiplier on those holdings. You can buy it on Bittrex. It's one of the top gainers. The problem is, full transparency here, the wallet is disabled on Bittrex because the code is not fully updated. So if you buy Aeon, you can buy and sell it within Bittrex. You just can't take it out and put it on your home computer or whatever. You can't do the arbitrage because the price is obviously twice as high on Bittrex as it is on BTC. But you can't deposit or withdraw Aeon from these wallets. You can use it within, you can exchange it on the exchange. You just can't move it across. So if you think about doing the arbitrage, it doesn't work. But if you do like Monero, that's a good one. I own it. I'm not going to sell it anytime soon. So it's it's very, very high risk. Go on Bitcoin Talk or Reddit and you'll see people being like, this is ridiculous. There's no one here. So it's definitely, you know, whatever, at your own risk, I guess I would say. I do want to, you know, along the lines of the resistance and the support on Bitcoin Cash, where was it? It was on Twitter, I believe. I mean, you guys know that I've been, Jihan. You guys know that I've been like mildly bullish on Bitcoin Cash. I've been buying it up since I said I would at 0.7 or 0.07 or whatever. Now it's at 15. I think Bitcoin Cash is going to heat up. I think the more that I see people hating on it and, you know, just saying they have a moral obligation not to do anything with it, the more I like it. And there's a whole you can dive into this so deeply. But yesterday or 2 days ago, Jihan, who owns Antminer, Bitmain, which is basically they're the biggest mining company in the world. They have 70% of the Bitcoin mining cards, or what do you call it, like hard drives, the things that you buy to mine Bitcoin. They built the fastest, the most efficient one. So they have a huge amount of control over the Bitcoin mining world. And yesterday he posted, if you want to kill Bitcoin Cash, please pitch Brian Armstrong, who is the founder of Coinbase, to list Bitcoin Cash, which they said, I don't know if they're going to list it, but they said they're going to give the Bitcoin Cash to their customers in January because lots of investors in Coinbase want to sell their Bitcoin Cash. I think, like, nice one, Jihan. I think you're just doing this because if you list Bitcoin Cash in Coinbase, you're going to sell 10 times more than you. I mean, you're gonna have people buy 10 times more than you sell because of the branding. Because people are going to look at Bitcoin and say, "Oh, this is 5,000. This Bitcoin Cash is so much cheaper." So I think that this makes me think that Jihan and Antminer and Bitmain are actually really starting to up the ante on making this a real thing, right? Like I talk a lot about Roger Ver the last few weeks, but I think he's really colluding and coming up with some ideas. I think now Jihan and a lot of the Chinese government officials and mining companies, I think that they are looking at this as a way to destabilize Bitcoin. Now, I know this is ridiculous. This is kind of like conspiracy theory level stuff at this point. So, think of this as you will. I will tell you that I'm going to buy Bitcoin Cash because I genuinely think that this is very similar to like the political things that we've seen around the world in the last year, right? Where it's some random thing that nobody likes, or I shouldn't say that nobody likes, but that seemingly the general population is against it. And that person is like, actually, I'm a lot more powerful than you think because I appeal to people's behavior that they don't want to talk about. Meaning, Bitcoin Cash appeals to people's desire to make money, right? And if he can get Bitcoin Cash in people's hands and increase the value of it, which he can do because he owns so much mining, I don't care what anybody says about tech or the product or how they emotionally don't like it. If the average investor gets a Bitcoin Cash for $500 or whatever, and it sees it rising, they are going to buy it and they're going to want more of it. They don't care if it's BTC or BCC. People just want to make the money. And that's the truth, right? Like they don't care about the politics of it all. So it's really interesting to see this unfold. I mean, maybe I'm just being completely ridiculous. I mean, you guys know that I've been following this stuff, but I'm such a big believer in these macro markets destabilizing themselves, right? The power grabs are so important, so much more important than we often think. There's also a really interesting article on Quartz. If you go to like Quartz, let me see, like Quartz. Jihan. Let's see if this comes up. There was an article. Let's see if I can get this on Google. Yeah, if you go to Quartz, which is QZ.com, it's called, the title is China's Bitmain dominates Bitcoin mining. Now it wants to cash in on artificial intelligence. It talks about the future of Bitmain, but it really talks about Jihan and like a lot of what we're talking about and how it's just like this crazy. It's crazy. You'll read this and I think you'll start to see where I'm coming from with this. So two last things I want to talk about. Let's just go back here. Get out of the rabbit hole that is Twitter, right? Let's go. The first thing, so along this Monero, what I talk about with Monero and with DNT and some of these different, quote unquote calls that I make, and I'm not really a caller as much. It's not really my thing. But what I do think is important to keep in mind and to remember when it comes to these markets is that I guess a really good example is like, let's go to Liqui. What happened with DNT and with ZRX and OAX and all these things on the Liqui exchange? Because yesterday or 2 days ago, I tweeted about how like it's 1,000% since we first talked about DNT. Let me see here, Casey. You guys like Casey Neistat? Man, go. His videos are unreal. Yesterday, yeah, so up 1,000%. And right around here was when I bought it in ETH. So let's go over here. Right around here was when I tweeted that. And it was going up. And what was really interesting is that, myself included, everyone was just so fired up. Like everyone was like, oh my God, it's going to go crazy. It's going to go to the moon, blah, blah, blah. And everyone was talking about how we're right here and it's about to get listed on Binance. It's about to get listed potentially on Bittrex. And everyone was assuming that it was going to go up to here, right? It was going to go straight up to the moon. And instead, there was a massive sell-off, both on Liqui, same on Binance, all that sort of thing. The exact same thing happened on OAX, which was actually listed on Binance first. Big sell-off. And as the saying goes, buy the rumor, sell the news, right? There's nothing new there. I mean, people have been doing that in financial world for years. What I would tell you guys, without getting in like too crazy of the details, the way to really win in investing, and or at least in this kind of investing, is you always got to be asking yourself, what do I know that nobody else knows? Or what information do I have access to that other people do not have access to? And the more that you have things that are sure bets for either of those two, you either know something or you have access to information that the general population does not know that is important to these types of market moves, that is how you buy it before it goes way up. Now you can get that information from technical analysis, right? That's what a lot of technical analysis is all about, is predicting trends. You can get that from networking, from meeting with other people, or you can get that through, just deep research, right? There's a lot of different ways to do it. But if you are following information that is on CoinDesk, or you are getting your information off of Facebook, or if you are getting your information from other people or articles that everybody else has access to, in today's world where everything is very fast, that is not a competitive advantage. Like you may want it to be, But if these guys, like the people in the troll box, if they have information, like it's already baked into the price. There's no secrets, right? And that's why the news always sells off, because it's not really news. The news is when the rumor came out. That's when you buy in. So yesterday I sold off a majority, I don't know, like half of my DNT here, both to cover my investment, which I had done previously, but I'd rebought in. And so I more than covered my investment by a lot, but I really cut my exposure because it was up so much, like 700% for when I got in. Because this is what always happens, right? Like it always buys news. When everybody's like, this is going to the moon, this is going to be the best, I can't wait. That's when I know I need to sell, because now everybody thinks that they have the information. And if I do not have something that they do not have, same way, if you don't have something that I don't have, then you do not have an advantage over this, and somebody else does have the advantage, right? So that's something you got to think about when you buy the rumor, sell the news, or anything like that. Or same with the quote, right? Like buy when others are fearful and sell when others are greedy, right? So, I mean, I personally, I love looking at this troll box, because when everybody's freaking out and terrifying, be like, dude, just hold, don't sell it, just stay, it is going to go to $1 million in a year, just, you got to hold it, you can't sell it. That's when I'm interested. And when people are like, get quiet and they're freaking out and I can see the sell behavior happening, that's when I know that it's okay, now might be a good time to buy, because everybody's thinking everything's just falling apart. Right. Similarly, yesterday, you go through this, it's all caps lock. Everything is like, I'm a millionaire, I'm going to the moon, this is going to be amazing, blah, 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 blah. That's when you know you want to sell it. And it's hard, because your brain is telling you, dude, you're about to, this is your shot. Like, you're about to win. But I mean, it never really happens that way. So always want to sell when everybody else is just high-fiving and talking about how it's the best. And you always want to buy when everybody else feels like their life is over and like things are just done, right? So if this, for example, if Bitcoin, if it does drop and it goes down to, let's say 34, I mean, I don't know if it's going to or not, and you see on Twitter and Facebook, the average person who's like you posting about how they're confused, they're not sure what to do, they just sold a bunch of stuff. They're like, I had to sell because I'm going to buy in lower. Like, I just can't handle a roller coaster. When you start seeing that stuff, just wait another 12 hours and then think about starting to buy. And that's when you start to get the good deals. That's when you start to make the money. As we've talked about before, you don't make the money on the return. You make the money on the deal. You make your money on the buy side of any trade, of any investment. That's why I don't really talk about how much money these can make. That's why all these other YouTubers talk about that. Like, let them give you the list of the 7 coins that are going to make you $1 million and get the clickbait and attract the kind of people that want to watch that stuff. You're here because you know that you make money on getting the deals. You buy the dips. You make your money on the buy side of any deal. That is the key to making huge amounts of money in the investment game, both in crypto, real estate, stock. I mean, anything you want to invest in, that's how you make a lot of money. You buy the dips, you get the deals. All right, cool. So last thing I want to talk about was this tweet, which was the best. UI Scooty, I made a lot of money for free just by watching, and I gave some money to charity. Cardi man. First of all, props. Second of all, I do not expect anybody to give their money away. I don't care. It's your money. Do whatever you want. No judgment from me. You can go buy a Porsche and a mansion and travel on a yacht for the rest of your life, and that's cool. Awesome. But what I will say, and this has come from I've built a lot of companies. I've been very fortunate in my success, and every time that I spend a certain amount of time each day giving something back to the greater population, whether it be to you guys, whether it be to my family or my friends or loved ones, or to a charity or something, and that can come through time, come through energy, it can come through money, whatever. The more that I give back, the more I make. And it is a net gain, like in a big way. But who knows why that happens that way? You can chalk it up to whatever you want. But I will tell you, having been an entrepreneur for 7 years now, starting 5 companies, building 5 companies, I sold 5 of them. Every time that I got greedy, every time I thought it was about me, every time I thought about how much money I needed to make, the harder it was for me to make money. The more I made it and then gave back, whether it be through free videos, whether it be through helping people, through writing emails, whether it be through giving away tens of thousands of dollars, whatever it is, that's when I started to make the real money. And I would almost guarantee that the same is true for you. And this is not about being religious by any means. This is about being like a human being in a human world. So I just want to give props to that. Like I said, I don't care what anyone does with their money. But I will say that I have found in my life that as you guys make a lot of money in this business, giving back is how you continue to make the money. There's no, like, it is a linear correlation to how you can make more and you feel better about the money you do make, and you can keep it all. So something I want to say. But with that, I'm going to wrap this up. I thank you guys for joining me. I will see you tomorrow. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. If you're not, hit the subscribe button or go to coinmastery.com/YouTube. Join us and tell your friends. Share this. I'm trying to get to 100,000 subscribers. Macro daily analysis Monday through Friday. We're going to dominate. Love it, guys. I will see you tomorrow. Peace out.